Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful day. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask members of our Scout group to come up to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can be seated if you'd like. Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody. It's nice to see everyone in person again. Last year we did this virtually and it wasn't quite the same, although it did not take away from any of the honor that we give to our servicemen and women. But today is a special day. It's a time for us to honor and remember all U.S. service members throughout the centuries who perished in the line of duty, and especially their family members who survived them. A special thank you to our chorus and band members, along with our scouts and our staff, for adding to this ceremony. It's an honor and privilege for me to begin this special Memorial Day by first introducing some very important people up on the steps with me. And I'd like to just quickly introduce them. First, our State Senator, Shelley Mayer, big friend of education. Shelley, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate that you're being here. We have our county legislator, Ms. Ruth Walters. Thank you. Representing the Bronxville Village, our trustees, Helen Knapp and Mary Behrens. And of course, we have Chief Satrial out there as well. Thank you, Chief, for being here. And of course, our honored veterans. These veterans served in the military, defending our country, and gave of themselves so the rest of us could enjoy the freedoms. I'd like to introduce them and ask them to do a quick stand and wave. From VFW 2285 and American Legion Post 979, we have Al Bruno, Private First Class Army, Korea. Peter Cerencione, U.S. Marine Corps Colonel, Bay of Pigs, Cuban Military Operations, Vietnam era. Michael Fix, First Lieutenant, U.S. Army Vietnam. Our VFW Post Commander, Bob Foster, Staff Sergeant, Air Force, Vietnam. Now, I understand Josh Gaccione is not with us because he's somebody's having a baby, I believe. Yes. But we recognize him anyway as a sergeant. Larry Marciano, I'm not sure if he made it or not yet, but he would be here, First Lieutenant, U.S. Army veteran. Vito Pinto, Lieutenant, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. And Jude Stenson, Sergeant, U.S. Army, Operation Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom. It is our pleasure to have you here and give us an opportunity to honor you, brave young men. I'd also like to acknowledge some of the Bronxville staff members who have served in the military or are currently serving in active reserves. We have Mike Perigine, a Vietnam War veteran who served in the U.S. Navy. Santiago Borges Marin, a Marine who served overseas in Japan, Vietnam, and Hawaii. And Aaron Ginsberg, Marine Corps from 2004 to 2010. I'd also like to read a list of names of Bronxville alum who are currently serving in our armed forces, and you can wait till the end to applaud them. Gabe Adorno, Tyler Almudi, Matthew Beto, Robert Visconti, David Branson, Chris Brogan, Tim Brogan, Paul Capon, Livy Coe, Nora Gerson, Ryan Grossen, Eric Gustafson, Michael Hubert, Peter Jaglom, William McGow, Colin Morrison, Melissa Moy, Bobby O'Connor, Cody Rodman, Matthew Rugani, Matthew Salisbury, Patrick Sicca, Mac Von Marin, William Toms, Stephen Wong, Wyatt Yankus, Kristen Yu, and Edward Yu. Thank you for your service. Monday marks the official Memorial Day and will give us the 153rd anniversary of the solemn ceremony. The day was first established back on May 5th, 1868, by General John Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic as a way to honor the fallen soldiers. The name of the holiday was eventually changed, and its scope slowly widened to include all wars. These days, a long and eagerly anticipated weekend can be characterized by barbecues, parades, and parties, as well as the unofficial start of summer, but most often is embraced as a day of solemnity and remembrance, as it should be. In the year 2000, then President Bill Clinton encouraged all Americans to begin the tradition of observing a moment of silence at 3 o'clock on the Monday of Memorial Day, so people could remember and reflect on the sacrifices made by so many to provide freedom for all of us. It's also a time to honor our veterans and current military personnel and their families for the sacrifices they make in defending our country. As I reflect on Memorial Day, I especially remember my brother, who was a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and served as a naval aviator in the Gulf War, rising to the rank of captain over his 25-plus years serving in the U.S. Navy. I remember our conversations as I learned about some of his classmates and squadron mates who lost their lives during various conflicts our country has been engaged in. And I reflect fondly and with a great deal of pride, thinking of my brother, and can only share a small amount of the pride that our veterans feel that comes with serving our country. As has been said, Memorial Day is our nation's solemn reminder that freedom is never free. It is a moment of collective reflection on the noble sacrifices of those who gave their last measure of devotion in service of our ideals and in defense of our nation. On this ceremonious day, we remember the fallen, we pray for lasting peace among nations, and we honor these guardians of our inalienable rights. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember those who fought so bravely and gave the ultimate sacrifice to defend our freedom. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Liam Herity, who is the president of the Student Faculty Legislation. Liam?
Good morning, everyone. Ooh, I might raise this. Good enough. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor. Before we begin, I really wanted to take a moment to thank those who made today's event possible, including our members of faculty and staff, administration, students, the PTA, members of the community, and especially those members of the armed services who are here with us today, in person and in spirit. Each year on Memorial Day, we take time to honor and mourn the loss of those who served honorably in defending the sanctity of our nation. And while it's far too easy to wrap ourselves in the celebratory nature of this holiday, with a long weekend, warm weather, and barbecues, we must keep in mind the valiant men and women who took upon themselves the most selfless sacrifice to protect the joys we often take for granted. This year has been especially poignant for us all as we live through a time of unparalleled difficulties and divisiveness. We stand at the apex of defeating a deadly virus, a fight we took upon as a nation united. Indeed, it was a fight that could not have been made without the efforts of our armed services. It was the members of our military who continued deployments amid the pandemic, often without being able to say goodbye to their family members and loved ones. It was also the many members of the military who died at the hands of the same pandemic, often without their loved ones being able to say goodbye to them. Yet the military served us directly as well, ensuring our safety from this pandemic, an enemy both foreign and domestic, was a priority. So to protect us from such, in the heart of our own New York City, our National Guard opened the largest vaccination site in the United States. To date, the Javits Center, staffed by over 300 members of the New York National Guard, has administered over 500,000 doses of the COVID vaccine. Today, thanks to their service, we do not have to mourn the loss of hundreds of thousands of citizens. But the protections by our military extend far beyond our immediate health and safety. When members enter the armed forces, they swear an oath to uphold the United States Constitution. On Memorial Day, we too mourn the loss of those who defended the tenets of the nation we love, our freedoms, liberties, and rights, especially that to a free and fair election. Nevermore was the latter true than on January 6th of this year, when rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol building, undermining our democratic processes and rule of law. Yet once again, it was the fortitude and bravery of the members of our National Guard and Capitol Police that secured and preserved the nation we love and its sovereignty. So though we lost fearless members of our military, of our society, their contributions speak volumes. And today, thanks to their service, we do not have to mourn the loss of democracy. Beyond the abnormalities of this year, the members of our military wake up each day to serve and protect both ourselves and the nation we love. They risk their price of their own life in immeasurable quantity so that we may enjoy ours even more thoroughly. On Memorial Day, we mourn the loss of a soldier who leaves his family to serve so that one day his child may celebrate the joys of life, so that she can go sledding in the winter and celebrate the holidays with presents and gifts, so she can build majestic sandcastles on the beach and inevitably watch the shore consume it, so she can walk to her first day of school and learn about the world and graduate with a degree of her own, and so that one day she can fall in love and start a family of her own. Today, we thank that soldier who makes the ultimate sacrifice so that we will not have to, and so that we may fully savor the joys of life. Our safety, our freedom, and our happiness are predicated on the security of this nation. It is with humble deference and appreciation that as a school and as a community, we thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Before I continue, I just want to say a special shout out to our youngest students, our kindergarten kids who look terrific in their hats and shirts. You guys are terrific. At this point, I'd like to ask our high school principal, Ann Meyer, to come up to present some awards.
A Bronxville tradition on Memorial Day is to honor the memory of two former Bronxville High School graduates and community members by recognizing two members of our current sophomore class. Both of the people we remember played an important role in sustaining our country's freedom through times of trial by serving in the military. I would like to invite last year's recipients, Bethany Lee and Chris Kelty, now members of the junior class, to present the awards to the sophomore class awardees. If you guys could join me. Thanks.
Our first award honors Barry Penfield, who graduated from the Bronxville High School with the class of 1940. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, she tried to enlist in the Army but was rejected for medical reasons. She moved on to join the Dutch Women's War Corps and worked in Holland, helping soldiers even during the Battle of the Bulge. To honor her memory, we give the Women's Service Award to a 10th grade girl who exemplifies the spirit of service and commitment of Barry Penfield. This year's recipient, as voted on by her classmates, is Remy Mellinghoff.
Our second award honors Thomas Hodgson, who graduated from Bronxville High School in 1946 and attended Duke University. In 1951, he joined the Marine Corps and served our country in Korea until his death in action on March 24th, 1952. Tom was an exceptional person. He was unselfish and set an outstanding example to all those who knew him. With his natural ability, he combined unusual industry and persistence, always striving to achieve his best, both in academics and extracurricular activities. To honor his memory annually, we give the Thomas Hodgson Award to a 10th grade boy who best exemplifies Mr. Hodgson's qualities. This year's recipient, as voted on by his classmates, is Andrew Doyle. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to ask members of the Girl Scouts to do the placing of the school wreaths.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce our speaker from the middle school, Shelley.
Memorial Day in the United States began on May 5, 1868, 3 years after the Civil War. The Memorial Day that we know was started by General John Logan and an organization of former Union sailors and soldiers. It was also widely celebrated at the time by former slaves who had been freed after the Civil War. They celebrated those who had fought for their freedom. In fact, the recently freed African Americans were among the first organizers of a memorial to the veterans who had died in war, although, at the time, they did not receive the level of freedom that they were hoping for, or even the level of freedom that they anticipated. The idea behind Memorial Day is something that dates back centuries upon centuries and has been part of many different societies. The notion that people should give thanks and celebrate those that had died fighting for them and their freedom is a constant in many cultures. The first known time that soldiers who had died in battle were celebrated dates back to as early as 431 BC in ancient Athens, Greece. Between then and the official start of our Memorial Day, thousands of other such traditions have existed in a vast number of cultures which were practiced in order to show gratitude for those who have fought for their country. While May 5th, 1868 isn't the first time a Memorial Day was celebrated, it was the first time it became an official holiday in our country. We all think we know the meaning behind Memorial Day, but we can lose sight of it with all of the modern traditions that we have created around this holiday, like going to the beach, going to the pool, having a barbecue, and being with friends and family. We are so lucky to have the luxury to be able to do things like that, and we have the soldiers that have sacrificed their lives to thank for it. We can't take for granted the freedoms that we have. We can't lose sight of those who preserved our freedoms, and we can't lose sight of the importance of continuing to fight for equal opportunities for all. General John Logan and the formerly enslaved African Americans who celebrated the first Memorial Day wanted everybody to remember the people who have fought for the greater good of our country. We owe a great deal to those who have fought for our country's freedom, including the men and women who join us here today. The amount of courage, strength, and nobility that it takes to risk your life for the well-being of your country and its people is beyond all words. So while you're with your friends and family this weekend, having a barbecue or going to the pool, you should try to remember the people who have sacrificed their lives so that yours can be safe and happy. Thank you for your time. My name is Charlotte Black, 8th grade representative.
So as we wind down our program, I do want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, and a special thank you to our invited guests for taking the time to be with us today, and especially our brave servicemen who are representing many of their colleagues who couldn't be here today. And we have a special tribute at the end now for our servicemen and women from our band and chorus members. So, Uma, please.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our program. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. We look forward to seeing you next year as well.
I hope so.
Thank you, everybody.